Our next story is from West Asia. Specifically, it's about Iran. The country is ramping up its military power with tensions remaining high in the region. Tehran is pushing forward with arsenals designed to counter threats from the United States and Israel. As its traditional allies, Hamas, Hezbollah, and even Syria face their own set of challenges, Iran is stepping up its game. Let's just tell you about Iran's new weapons that could reshape the region's balance of power. First is the Gaza drone. Iran's largest ever drone, named after the war-ravaged Palestinian enclave. The Gaza drone is a super heavy, unmanned aircraft with a 22-meter wingspan and a takeoff weight of over 3,000 kilograms. It can carry up to 12 bombs, significantly enhancing Iran's airstrike capabilities. The IRGC commanders, in fact, claim it will boost border security and strengthen Iran's aerial dominance with an operational range exceeding 1,000 kilometers and a flight time of 35 hours. The drone can cover vast distances and is capable of speeds up to 350 kilometers per hour, making it well suited for both surveillance and combat missions. Iran is, by the way, also expanding its naval power. It recently launched its first ever signals intelligence ship, the Zagros. Unlike conventional warships, this vessel is built for electronic warfare and cyber surveillance. As per reports, the Zagros is equipped with advanced sensors capable of intercepting enemy communications, monitoring electronic activities, and gathering military intelligence. In fact, Iran's Navy commander called it, quote-unquote, the watchful eye of Iran's Navy, underlining its importance in Tehran's strategic calculations. And with this move, Iran is not just defending its waters, it is preparing to disrupt enemy operations in the Persian Gulf and beyond. And you see, Tehran is not stopping there. The Iranian army recently added 1,000 domestically produced drones to its arsenal, distributing them across different combat units. These drones have an operational range of over 2,000 kilometers, putting Israel and US bases in West Asia well within striking distance. Equipped with highly destructive payloads, low radar visibility, and autonomous navigation systems, these drones can reportedly operate without external control, making them harder to intercept. Iran has also introduced the Rezwan drone, a suicide drone designed for precision strikes. According to reports, it is similar to Russia's Lancet and Israel's Hero drones, both of which have been used and proven in battle. Rezwan is reportedly designed for quick deployment and high-precision targeting, even in complex combat environments. It is reportedly launched from a cylindrical tube and transmits live video to its operator, ensuring accurate strikes on enemy positions. Iran is signaling, basically, that it is adopting modern warfare tactics, using technology inspired by some of the world's most advanced military forces. Tehran is making it clear its drones are not just for defense, they are built for war. And beyond new weapons, Iran is also preparing for war or war-like situations. It has launched a 2-month-long military exercise focusing on defending key nuclear facilities, including Natanz, against simulated drone and missile attacks. This move is a direct response to Israel's repeated threats to strike Iran's nuclear sites. The drills reportedly aim to test Iran's missile defense systems and rapid response capabilities, making it clear that Tehran is both expecting and preparing for any kind of conflict. Also, by the way, these developments come in the backdrop of 2 IDF reservists being arrested for allegedly selling classified military intelligence to Iranian handlers. One suspect, a former member of Israel's Iron Dome missile defense unit, is in fact accused of handing over critical data, including footage of Iron Dome interceptions. He reportedly made contact with an Iranian handler last September. And then on October 1, Iran launched a massive ballistic missile attack on Israel, firing over 180 missiles. Some of these hit sensitive Israeli military sites. Was Iran's attack fueled by stolen intelligence? That's the big question Israeli investigators are now scrambling to answer. And the thing is, Iran's aggression is not just about new weapons. It's also about big money. Remember, last October, the Iranian government announced a 200% increase in its military budget, signaling a major shift towards military expansion. Tehran is openly preparing for confrontation, reinforcing its military against Israel, the United States, and regional adversaries. And with Hamas and Hezbollah weakened by the ongoing conflicts, Iran is arming itself to prevent any potential power vacuum. And amid all this, Iraq has reportedly offered to mediate between Iran and the United States. That's right. The Iraqi foreign minister made this statement at the recently held World Economic Forum in Davos, stating that Baghdad is ready to facilitate talks if requested. But the question is, will Tehran and Washington even sit at the table? That remains uncertain as of now. But you see, Iran is taking no chances. It is in fact doubling down on its military build-up and not relying on diplomatic resolutions. It is building deadlier drones, upgrading its naval surveillance, and adding thousands of unmanned war machines to its arsenal. As its traditional allies have weakened in a way, Tehran is taking direct control of the battlefield. Iran's message to West Asia and beyond is quite clear. Tehran is ready to protect its interests, assert its dominance, and challenge adversaries. A mountain is no longer just a mountain. In a legal shift, New Zealand has granted personhood to Taranaki Maunga, recognizing it as a living entity with rights and protections. Our next report telling you more about how this is not just about law, it's a lot more than that.
Those of that opinion will say aye. Aye. To the contrary, the ayes have it.
A new law redefines the relationship between nature and humans. New Zealand has taken the extraordinary step of granting personhood to one of its most iconic landmarks. Its Mount Taranaki now has a legal identity, Taranaki Maunga. The unprecedented move signals a profound reconciliation of indigenous rights with environmental stewardship. The landmark legislation marks a historic victory for the Maori people, whose ancestral connection to the 2,518-meter peak stretches back centuries. Granting personhood to the mountain represents a decisive break from colonial practices that systematically displaced indigenous guardianship.
But let me be really, really clear. Our tupuna never ceded sovereignty over our maunga. No raupatu, no act of government, no colonial decree could ever sever our connection with our maunga. We grew up knowing there was nothing anyone could do to make us any less connected.
The legal framework bestows upon Taranaki Maunga all the powers, duties and protections afforded to human beings under New Zealand law. The recognition serves as a powerful acknowledgement of historical wrongs, addressing the mountain's theft from local Maori communities during colonization. For generations, indigenous voices were silenced in decisions about the mountain's management, while hunting and sports groups wielded significant influence.
I acknowledge traditional Maori practices associated with the mountains were banned, while tourism was promoted. Pests such as possums were introduced and led to destruction of the native forest in some parts.
The recognition also echoes global reverence for sacred mountains. Hundreds of millions revered the Himalayas, the abode of snow, as the source of sacred rivers such as the Ganga, whose life-giving waters have sustained civilizations. Mount Kailash, located in Tibet's remote western region, is considered one of the most sacred mountains in Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism and Bon religions. Hindus believe it to be the abode of Lord Shiva, while Buddhists view it as the center of the universe. Similarly, Govardhana Hill in Vrindavan, the holy town in Uttar Pradesh, northern India, is revered for its association with Lord Krishna. As climate change threatens the world's most sacred and fragile landscapes, this decision in New Zealand sets a precedent. Will other nations follow suit?
Shifting focus, our next story is about the massive mystery behind the Washington plane crash. You must have come across those visuals. Rescue and diving teams worked through the night in the Potomac River in Washington, D.C. at the site of Wednesday's deadly collision of a passenger jet and a military chopper. 28 dead bodies were pulled out. Officials saying hopes of finding survivors in the freezing water are now over. Our next report telling you more.
Black Tech 3, can you return to base? I need you to land immediately. Delta 832, if you want to shut them down or if you want to go back to gate, let me know. I don't know if we're going to resume operations. There was a collision on the approach to 33.
8:48 late evening on Wednesday. That's when American Airlines Flight 5342 collided with a Black Hawk military helicopter about 300 feet over the Potomac River in Washington, D.C. The passenger jet from Kansas with 64 people on board was minutes away from landing at the Reagan International Airport. The Black Hawk chopper had 3 personnel on a training flight. The U.S. Capitol had seen nothing like it before, human error leading to horrific tragedy.
I hear the bang bang, a very unusual sound, something you don't hear on a daily basis. It's more like on a war zone, something you hear on movies, action. So that caught my attention. I looked up the sky, I looked up the window, and all I could see at that moment was just smokes from the south side of Reagan Airport.
Both aircraft plummeted into freezing cold water. Emergency services from multiple agencies moved in as alarms were triggered. Rescue teams worked through the night in extreme cold conditions. Diving teams scoured the site. Helicopters from law enforcement agencies from across the region flew over the scene in a methodical search for bodies.
Despite all those efforts, we are now at a point where we are switching from a rescue operation to a recovery operation. At this point, we don't believe there are any survivors from this accident.
So where did the calculations go wrong? Who's to blame? Detailed inquiries to come will reveal much in days to come. The Pentagon chief voiced shock. He's ordered a thorough investigation. The American Airlines chief expressed deep condolences. What a terrible night this has been, President Donald Trump wrote on his social media. Trump blamed the helicopter and also the control tower for not passing the right instructions. He termed it a bad situation that looks like it should have been prevented. Not good. Experts think the military helicopter did not have its tracking system turned on. So another device, the traffic collision avoidance system fitted to all military and commercial aircraft, did not kick in as the 2 aircraft came close.
It's quite possible that this training flight of this Black Hawk helicopter was a covert style training mission of going black, if you like, and not having any electronic tracking turned on, and a tragic error of doing this around an airport, an active airport. I mean, if they're going to do that sort of training, it should be done well away from an active airport, like Reagan National.
As authorities and families of those in the two aircrafts go about picking up the pieces, some grim realities stare. US media reports say several members of the US and global figure skating community were on the ill-fated passenger jet from Kansas. The Kremlin too stepped in to condole a human tragedy.
Мы, к сожалению, видим, что эти печальные данные подтверждаются. Там были и другие наши сограждане. Плохие новости сегодня из Вашингтона. Мы сожалеем и соболезнуем родным и близким, которые потеряли тех, кто из наших сограждан.
To stay up to speed with the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.